Good morning and welcome to Quasar Markets Live. You have Howard Greenberg, your host here, and I am always happy to have Stephen BigBeat Orr on the line with me here today, CEO and founder of Quasar Markets. Big Beat, how are we feeling today?
It's like a big hangover from the night before at a big party, right? Yesterday the markets took a big dive. Nvidia, the chipset makers, the world of tech took a beating yesterday, dropping a back to the woodshed kind of thing yesterday. And look, the truth of the matter is nothing has really changed. To be honest with you, um, a lot of these companies have buybacks that they haven't even been using, and I'm not scared of this. I think there's so many people that are scared. But when I looked at the markets yesterday, the sell-off was really exacerbated by options and not by institutional selling. In fact, a lot of companies got upgrades yesterday.
Right?
A lot of got bought, so I'm not too worried about this.
I agree, and I did, it was funny. I think I did yesterday's segment on short selling at exactly the right time as the market. You would have made good money if I had done that a couple of weeks earlier, maybe. But, that contrarian play. But I did say that yesterday, I'm a little bit more negative on the economy than you are, worldwide stuff. I was looking at trade data today. Our import data didn't look very good today. So that worries me. And I'm more worried about China, quite honestly. I think here in the US, we might have that softer landing that we've talked about, but I don't think they're on that route in China. I just saw an article come across the board that they're thinking about lowering rates, and that's not something you see very often there.
Yeah, I mean it's Fed Chair Powell has been talking about 2% inflation and getting back to the mandate of the world and getting back to, and then to change the narrative to its labor markets. I guess now it's going to be real estate space. Who cares? Who knows? I don't do my world around what they do. I don't trade around that. You know what I trade around? I trade around what I see, and what I saw over the last few weeks is is people itself and what they're buying and what they're not buying. And look, yeah, Apple's probably not selling a lot of iPads and a lot of iPhones right now. Why? Because they've got a new iPhone coming out. Why is
Absolutely.
right? I mean, Nvidia, the Blackwell chipsets, great. They're not out yet. Great. When they are, you think that people aren't going to buy them? I heard today that the AI world is overhyped. It's not. We're not even in the first inning, so I don't even know what people are worried about right now. Yeah, maybe it's the election. They're still worried about that. They don't know which way direct we're going to go. But to be honest with you, nothing has really changed. And I think that I've said this several times, especially on the show and other shows, that be careful what we wish for. If we want the Fed to cut rates, then they need to do it for good reasons. I will tell you the real crack in the system here, I think, to me, has been banks. Banks are hurting. Liquidity is out there is not that good, and you're seeing money moving around and people gambling. So there's a crack there. Real estate definitely a crack. But is it really a massive crack in the system? I don't think so. I don't. I really don't. Are people losing the job hand over fist? No, I really don't think so. But I do think people are pissed off. Quite frankly, one of them I've seen, and we talked about this yesterday, was strikes. People are still striking around the country. So, companies are making too much profit. That's why they're striking, right? They want more money. So, no, not really.
Yeah, I agree. And where I would say though is what I am seeing a little bit more of that I like to see in the market that we haven't seen with this over exuberant sort of perma bull run that we've had over the last few months is that the winners are winning. People coming in with good earnings. The places you're seeing people shop, like we talked about, the WalMarts, the Targets, they're reporting good earnings, and that market's going up. The correct plays in different markets and different sectors are there. I think a flight to quality is happening, which is not a bad thing. We talked a little bit yesterday about Warren Buffett and Peter Lynch, two of our favorite investors, and they both always do that. And that's what I think is important to take some time now and for people to do is when things are just getting hit irrationally to the bottom side. This is where you put together your wish list of some of the top names in different sectors because they're going to rebound. And that's my opinion. That's how I look at it. This is where I'm looking to see, okay, when can I buy Boeing? When can I buy Nvidia? When can I buy an Intel? When's the right time to get in there? Timing the market's going to be important, but I do think picking the correct stocks right now is going to lead you in the right direction. And you've always talked about that.
Yeah, I don't like timing the markets. I think, if you want to time the market, here's the way to time the market: buy and never sell, right? Because the market's only going to go one way in one direction. It goes up. There's just bumps along the road. Um, Look, I think this is the best time to leverage, to actually do those things that as good traders do. There are a couple of my rules that are right in play right now. Always have powder. Guess what? If you're able to buy late last night, when the news on Nvidia came out, boom, you would have made some big money this morning. Look, I know some people now are calling me a perma bull, and I am definitely not a perma bull or not a perma bear either. But I will say this much. I will say this much: the market's volatility is bigger right now than the actual overlying stuff that's happening around it. The news is exacerbating it. Zero DTEs are exacerbating it. We're not seeing that terrible of the economy. And let me tell you why. I have been in the political scene pretty much all of my life. And I've learned a long time ago that elections are about one thing: your back pocket. You could talk about other issues around it, but I think Ronald Reagan said it best: "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" If you say you were not better off than you were 4 years ago, you're either a liar or a terrible trader. You know, all you had to do was just buy something and just hold it the whole time, right? I will say this much: there is a malaise out there in people, in the general public, that they're not happy, and that not happiness equates into the markets. But yesterday's selling, I did not see institutionals go, "I can't wait to dump everything that I own." That's not happening right now. We're seeing retail do that, and I'll tell you a good way of finding that out. Retail, if you want to watch to see what other retailers are doing, follow the silver market. The silver market right now is telling you everything you need to know. Look at it based on the gold market. Yeah, look at the silver market versus the gold market, overlay those two charts. You'll see exactly what's happening. Gold is not dipping as fast. There's not as much volatility. And that's how you can tell what the retailers are doing. So I think that you're all seeing that. I also see, we'll look at the volume in the options markets, zero DTEs, and look at market movers. We have that inside our system as well. But look at companies that you don't normally see, right? That are really exploding without news or pushing. GameStop, AMC. You saw it again. GameStop yesterday getting a big bullish call buying. Why? It's retail again. So I right now, I'm not seeing the overall heavy fundamental data tearing us apart, because we saw really good earnings and even good guidance. So when you see both those things and you see some selling, it's either profit taking or retail. And I'm going to say I'm going to stick to a little bit of both, but it's mostly retail.
Yeah, another indicator I think you can look at there is just your daily volume. When we were looking at the traded
Yeah.
actual shares yesterday, volume was weak for this type of move. So it wasn't, like you're saying, a lot of that was option driven, pushing price as opposed to, the spot market buys. I did put up on the screen there an overlay on Trading View of exactly what you were asked about or talked about there with the gold versus silver. And you can see that silver had really taken off, on a daily chart in between April and July at a much higher rate than gold, but they've mimicked themselves a little bit more over the last month here. So you're seeing a
Yeah.
little bit more of a similar movement there. Um, I was looking at SPY overnight. I put on here, let me just pull off. There, I have the SPY up on the daily chart. I was pulling up and looking at it today. I think you can see a pretty good double top here. When it comes to the SPY, we had a period back in July between about the 10th and the 16th when we sort of maxed out at that 565 level, dropped all the way down, as we know, on August 5th, down to 511, and we built our way right back to that same exact level of 565, which was, as we know, the 52-week and all-time high, and we rejected right off of that. So I'm looking at a zone here of support that's, down around the 542, 538 level. Do you think we're going to bounce that low, or do you think we're going to find some support here, some buyers?
Now we're gonna find some support here. I think this is right where it's at. They might try to push down into the lower linear regression. I know we broke a little bit, but I'm not scared in this market. I was asked again yesterday, "Am I scared?" No, not really. Was I scared back in 2006? Absolutely. Was I scared in '87? Yes. That's not the kind of scared that we need to have right now. The markets are still pushing north. Yeah, I do like that double top. I do like that cap and handle telling us, hey, look, there's some profit taking here and we can't push higher. But we need to go into liquidity zones. And where are the liquidity zones and where are the buyers at and where are the sellers at? I think a lot of people forget that this is um, a market that seems to be heady a bit and seems to be positioning itself for another leg higher. Normally September is a rough month. Seasonality, that is the case. But when I look at the markets, I'm thinking it already happened in August. That's what I'm saying. I think we might have front run this a little bit. And the first day back from Labor Day was a little bit of a hangover for the markets. And there it is. And I think we might be able to see some buyers stepping in here. And when we do, I think we push right back on up.
That's great to hear. I have again a little bit of the contrarian against you on that one, but that's my nature, as you know. For that, let's see what's moving here. We about 15 minutes from the open. We're seeing SPY down about 0.32%. We see Nasdaq QQQ down a little over a half a point. A lot of that being led by Nvidia, down a point and a half here still. Have that chart right now on the daily chart. That's about to touch the bottom of the linear regression, and you can see we're right about the same support level that August 6th, and where we started to take off on May 24th. So this could be a pretty good zone here for a bounce on Nvidia. And like you said, I mean, their usage isn't going down. The need for Nvidia chips isn't going down. The antitrust, the
You're absolutely right. I
antitrust
gotta buy
problem.
more.
Yeah. Do you think that's some of the concern drawing on it today? I mean, I think for retail it is. I know institutional knows to look at that and say, hey, antitrust cases come all the time. They don't usually amount to much. Yeah, the
They
lawyers
don't
will.
amount to
Yeah,
anything.
lawyers will make a lot of money, but that's about it. And they already pay their lawyers a lot every day. They're on retainer. They're part of the team, so it's not much of a bigger expense to them.
Yeah, and
Um,
you got to wonder about yesterday if the insiders knew and Nancy Pelosi knew yesterday.
Yeah, I can't wait to look today or tomorrow at what Nancy Pelosi, her trading account did reading into this NVIDIA. That will be very interesting. For those that don't know, she has infamously pretty much called the market amazingly, especially when it has to do with companies that were about to be affected either to the positive and negative by political action throughout the U.S. So always a funny one. One thing one of the reasons I think for me that I'm a little bit negative here too is our U.S. trade gap hit a 2-year low, or 2-year high, excuse me, the gap there. It shows sign of consumer strength on one side for me in the U.S. There's a consumption, but worrying me a little bit, that the world, well, like I said, is China still want our stuff. There are other places. So that's what's worrying me a little bit more. What do you think about that?
I don't worry about what China does. I have never worried about what China does. I still don't care what China does. They are a part. They are a trading partner with us. They will continue to be a trading partner with us. They have sanctions on them. There's sanctions on Russia. There's sanctions on a lot of countries. And guess what? We still trade with them. We still need those products, right? We see issues in obviously with China and with Taiwan. But the truth of the matter is, nope. China has always had problems. China will continue to have problems. and China, and just guess what? So do we. But the difference is we get through our problems, and so do they. They have, whether that we don't like, I don't like the communism at all. If you know me, I'm against it. But they have their own ways. They are a country way older than the United States, obviously, and they've been around a lot longer and a lot more people. They consume a lot more than we do, and they have a lot of the rare earths that we need. They have a lot of the products that we need, and we will continue to buy from them. We might not buy at the same level as that we have in the past, because there might be a slowdown, but that's okay. But they're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere, and so I don't see any problems here. I saw where somebody was talking about that Nvidia might have, Huawei might be a competitor to Nvidia, and now they're not a competitor because they can't get their products. Of course, we know that, so
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it. Yeah,
Now, on the good news, I did see that applications for mortgages ticked up a little bit
yeah.
again this week. That makes it the fifth week in a row. So, are we seeing home buyers maybe starting to get enticed by the lower rates? I know that we've seen mortgages drop again over those last 5 weeks, also. So that seems to be a pretty good sign.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about that for a while. Drop the rates, and you'll see buyers coming right back in. The problem with buyers right now is the ones who want to buy newer homes don't want to get out of their mortgage, and the ones that are trying to buy a new home, we're seeing some issues there. There's nothing to buy, so that's keeping home prices artificially high. But no, right now, every home that's for sale is pretty much sold
Yeah, I mean,
or is selling.
what we're seeing in my area is, like you said, is the new home builders are doing very well right now because it's still, even with the rates coming down, what that's doing is there are people that want to buy. The problem is there aren't enough people that want to sell. So we still
That's
have
right.
low inventories. So what you're seeing is the Fishers, the Ryans, the D.R. Hortons, the Lennar, picking up there because two ways. Number one, they will artificially lower interest rates because they can do that because they're the lender too. Their mortgage sides usually provide those loans. So they'll offer you some incentives and that makes it more affordable. And you combine it with that really is where the inventory is. So I do think that that's what we're seeing. It's definitely generating some more activity. It's still low. There's a lot of controversy there, as we know, in the realtors market, as they've changed the whole way that market works with buyers agents and sellers agents and what you list and what you don't list. So that will be interesting to watch too, because there are a lot of things at play there. Redfin, let me pull that up on our charts here. I know we were watching that yesterday, had a real nice day. I haven't looked yet to see if it's had any follow through today. That's giving back about 0.21 here, but that chart looks pretty good here on the daily chart. It bounced right about, I would say, halfway here on the retracement. It moved up all the way to 1173 from 744. A natural retracement to that 950 level, not a bad thing. Bounced off there. Having trouble right now at the top of the linear regression on that daily chart, but you got a good looking chart for Redfin. It's good to see them looking good. I will say again, we talked yesterday, I know, about Dollar Tree. I had expected bad earnings. They definitely followed. I mean, it wasn't too tough to really predict that one after watching Dollar General drop last week. So DLTR hit pretty hard here.
Yeah, I mean, if the world's going to hell in a handbasket, Dollar Tree is one of those that will probably push up, right? I mean, and we're not seeing that. We're not seeing people running to the store of Dollar Tree and going, "Oh my God, I got to buy my groceries here." You're still seeing Amazons and WalMarts, the big box stores, Costco, still doing very, very well. They're looking for bargains, and that's where they think they can find them, and that's where you're seeing it. But they're not rushing to the dollar store to be able to buy their new products.
No, we saw stores like Best Buy had showed great earnings and had some good reaction to that there. I've been looking a little bit this morning in the beverage industry. As you know, I came from that side of the world. Brown-Forman had pretty good earnings last week. Opposite Two Worlds today, Molson came in and they did not have good earnings today. Molson did have good earnings and have had a nice pounce up there. That's tap.a. I think part of the good news there is that they're selling off some of those craft brands. So we're seeing a change in the consumer spending and the way that it
Yeah.
is. And I've been watching that over the years. I'm a big fan and looking at those sectors to see where there's some room for movement. And I think that Molson Coors has really moved back in to their core business of those brands that that they own, they control completely. And again, we're seeing that as the consumer sort of changes their habits, that's what they're buying. Modelo's moved into the number one beer in the world, then Bud Light and Miller Lite, Coors, and those worlds. So they are moving up. On the other side, wine business not looking as promising. I noticed that bad earnings out of a few of them yesterday. Duckhorn not looking too good. One of my favorite wineries out of Napa Valley, but that would make sense. Higher price point, right? Also, we've seen restaurants struggling in the that mid-tier level where they do a lot of their business. So they're down about 1.74% on bad guidance there. One on the other side looking good, GitLab, a business development software company where a lot of tech companies go to put their repositories where people work, especially on blockchain stuff, up 12.13% on higher earnings and higher guidance. So that was good to see. Bitcoin got hit overnight pretty hard, dropping down to 56,540.
They were testing that bottom, huh?
Yeah, retested pretty much that exact range that we had drawn up yesterday when you and I were talking about it here on our charts that I pulled up. It has still, it maintained that bullish flag though. It dropped right to that level as you can see on the screen,
Yeah,
and
but
right
if
at
the
that
if the government
56.
if the government prints more money and lowers interest rates, Bitcoin could see a hell of a run here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been talking about it. I've been range buying. I bought more last night. I know that you did too. This is where I've been buying, and I've been selling off as we reach into the 60, 62 level. Rinse and repeat a little bit. As you said, the market only goes up eventually. It's, also taking advantage of these, patterns that you see. And Bitcoin's done this a bunch of times in the past where it will, range trade in between an area for 6, 8 months, and then all of a sudden get the impotence to move up. So
Yeah.
that's what we're seeing here.
Again this morning, the 10-year now sitting at 3.837%. Talking about home buying, I mean, my goodness, there's the answer for you right there. If that rate continues to come down, I get my hair cut, I put gas in the car, I walk to the grocery store, and the first thing out of everybody's mouth, "Hey, BigBeat, what's going on in the the rates? Are they coming down? Are they going up?" Nope, they're going to come down. The Fed's telling you that. So, to be honest with you, I ain't too scared.
Intel getting hit here on news that actually from AVGO's
Mm.
quarterly report, because AVGO, another chip maker, reported that the silicone wafers they get supplied from Intel's manufacturing business failed their tests. So we're seeing Intel's shares dropping here on that news.
That is a company that should not be in the position that it's in right now. I think in that situation, I think it's poorly run. The management's been terrible there, but they do have a plan. They're looking at a plan to fix things, right? I don't know the answer right there. I want to own Intel at some point. It's a Dow dog, and looks, and I know there's a big talk on Wall Street on the floor. I was just not there not too long ago, to actually removing them from the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That
Wow.
would be huge, right? But let's see. I don't see that yet. But there are other companies that I would definitely put in the Dow, other than Intel. But that's a big call. I mean, that's been a stalwart for a very long time. So I'm not sure, but if that happens, could see some problems again. We have about 5 minutes now to the open here.
Yeah. Yeah, their daily chart, you can see how they've been, after they gapped down on that bad news a couple of weeks ago, they're having trouble getting across that 2150 level. Seems to be where they get rejected, 2150 to 2175. Okay, as we pull into the market here, taking a look, Boeing down below 160 here.
I'll tell you, I'm definitely keeping my eye on Boeing.
I know you are. You are.
The advanced decline line right now is sitting at minus 89 for the New York Stock Exchange. That's about as flat as it gets, right? That means 92 stocks are down more than the up, and there's a lot, right? Like 9,000. So uh, this is nothing. So I'm thinking it's going to be a very muted open. I don't see much going on here. This close to the open, you're seeing options markets. Guess what? It's hitting Nvidia again. So if this is retail selling, I don't see anything wrong here. I'm not too concerned.
You have it there from BigBeat himself. I will say that I'm with you. I think that people, it's going to be a quiet day today. I think that, not much news today, although we do have the beige book coming out, right?
Yeah.
So that will hit. But, that's just people overreading into a report that was already, verbally announced to us a month ago. So it isn't usually there, but people look to see it, all the red crosses through it to see what exactly has changed and, what the tone might be. So you'll have a little bit of play off of that. But I think people are waiting for the jobs report on Friday, right? That's all you hear on the news: jobs report, jobs report, jobs report.
Oh, I mean, look, I think people are looking to the next report of whatever. This morning or yesterday is PMI and ISM and manufacturing and where we at in manufacturing. We talked about it yesterday. And manufacturing is a little less than expected, but not by much. And it didn't feel weak, but it did feel like there were cracks. So I think people are exacerbating the cracks. They're making, oh my God, it's like Chicken Little running around everywhere, and I'm just not seeing that. If I did, then we would see a lot bigger moves. Talk to me about it in 2006 when the market was down 500 points before the open. That was a problem, right? 500 points today is, we call it a Tuesday, and yesterday it was Tuesday. So, yes, it was the biggest day and drop, but the percentages and the numbers don't mean anything anymore right now because the numbers are bigger. Um, I just don't see it right now. I don't see people running to the hills and putting their money in the mattresses right now. I just don't see it.
Right? Absolutely. I'm with you. Interesting thing I'm looking at here right now: Dick's getting hit pretty hard, down about 5.39%. They were up last night in the after hours after posting pretty good earnings. They beat estimates. They beat earnings per share by 13.15% and beat revenue by 1.02 and gave good forward, estimates. So that's a little surprising to me here. I'm wondering what's going on there.
Okay.
And we are about 2 minutes away from the open here. Still looks like we are in the red to start off our day following yesterday. Will our decline stop? Will we get a little bit? I'll be interested personally to see what volume looks like here over the first half hour of the trading day. Yesterday, a little underwhelming there, and we saw from there it just sort of tailed off. Tesla trying to move a little bit of a move back up here this morning in pre-hours. It had been down almost a point back here, almost even. AMD, on the other hand, up about 2.63%. So it's not all market wide. You're seeing some winners, sprinkled in there. There's not a ton of them.
Yeah, I'm not
Broadcom.
seeing much in the Bitcoin market here at all. In fact, I'm seeing a little bit of buying here in the Nasdaq here down here. Yeah, you're seeing silver. Like I said, watch the silver market if you want to know. It's green, and the gold market is down 0.23%, and silver's up 0.14%. I think we're going to see some buyers coming in today. All right, we're open here.
Copper's about flat, I see here too. What had moved up is the VIX. We're up around 2256, and that's moved up tremendously from that like 13 level it was at yesterday. So we are seeing people expecting a little bit more volatility leading into the jobs reports. And we are open.
Disney flat on the day here.
Steve, speaking of Disney, I saw the news that they have sort of narrowed down their CEO choices, I believe, to two internal candidates. I didn't know, I know you have always been a big follower of Disney, being down there in Florida and everything. Wasn't sure if you had any sort of feel on that or any opinion on the people they're looking at there.
I mean, Disney is a stalwart here in Florida, and people flock to it. Regardless of your political leanings and the governor of Florida, listen, the people, it is jam packed. Parks are packed. The streaming is doing quite well. They've got combined with Hulu and all of those stuff they're going on with. The Mouse House is alive and well and not being hurt. Yeah, it got ticked by a little bit of the powerhouse that it was, but man, people are still going. They're still flocking to it. We are seeing a little bit of selling here in this open here, but look at that. Disney now up a 0.5%. Albemarle ALB, I've been watching that. Yesterday was a rough day, but now up 0.61%. 0.61% now. Okay, look at that. I'm not seeing it anymore right now. So I think the selling is pretty much over.
That'd be good to hear. I know that. Um,
28.11 now announced there on silver. So hey, like I said,
the Dow is up slightly here, up about a tenth of a point. So we are seeing the Dow up a little bit. Tesla's up a point here. It's amazing how fast Tesla moves, huh? I was down a point about 15 minutes ago, up a point a minute and a half, 10 minutes later, whatever it is. Wow. Tell you the other one that's been impressive is Nordstrom's is continuing to tick up here. So again, the quality companies are getting bought up at this time when things
Boeing's
are a
up a
little
half a
depressed.
percent. I mean, we talked about that this morning. I'm not scared here.
So the other one that we were watching last week, Smuckers broke through that top, resistance line, the trend line that I had pointed out last week, and that's looking really strong too. Smuckers making a move back up, could look to try to challenge, this right now it's at 120. It's got room to 123 here pretty easily. It's sort of blue skies up here, so that's good to see. I mentioned Best Buy had seen some, positivity. Saw it move up again end of last week. It's holding pretty well. The only thing there is that's from what I call the Bart Simpson look, where you have, comes up the side of his head. We do this for a little while. This is a real big Bitcoin one, and then we sometimes see that. So I call it the top of the Bart Simpson. That one worries me a little bit looking at Best Buy right now on the hourly chart. Interesting to see.
IBM is now green. I mean, my goodness, you're starting to see it now. Pulling buyers are stepping in here.
Qualcomm catching a little bit of a bid here this morning, last 2 hours. Had been down around 161 up to about 164 and a half here.
Tick up 200 right now. Yep, here we go. We're starting to see it everywhere now.
Do have some buying. Qualcomm now up over a point. VIX 22.1, so VIX dropping down a little bit. AMD running 2.56 here on the day. Bitcoin trying to catch a bid here. I'm watching to see what Bitcoin does as it approaches 56,750 today. At 56,750 is where I will closely be watching Bitcoin. Good to see the VIX dropping down a little bit here. Like to see that get back below that 20 level. That sort of tends to be the median, to my opinion. The one not catching a bid yet is still Nvidia. Take a look here. Oh, Nordstrom's confirming a buyout bid received.
Again, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there you go. I was just saying that's made a nice move over the last week or so. Nordstrom's confirmed Wednesday it has received a buyout bid from members of the family that founded the department store chain and Mexico-based retailer El Puerto de Liverpool. Sounds like a football team. Under terms of the buyout proposal, Eric and Peter Nordstrom, other Nordstrom family members in Liverpool, would pay $23 for each outstanding share, and we're seeing Nordstrom up about 2.76% on that. It closed yesterday at 22.82. Let's see where we're at here. That is JWN. Don't ask me why that's their name. We can see that's now trading at 23.45, so trading at a premium to what they're looking to pay.
We're seeing some selling now.
I will say that, Steve, also, in my opinion, goes a little bit to what you said in the market about, the people who have money are doing stuff.
Yes, they are. A little concerned that I'm not.
Another one that's continuing to rise here a little bit is Box. Cloud company that made the nice move up here on last Tuesday had failed to hold the levels at around 33, dropped back down as low as about 30, and now moving back up nicely. So that's good to see. Another one we've been watching since last week. Qualcomm is retracing about half of those gains we saw over the last hour. Seeing Timu down about 1.57, so that's one that really hasn't been able to regain much momentum since really getting hit. Chinese retailer. Constellation Brands, another one of the wine industry companies, although they have moved heavily into the cannabis industry also, uh, had pretty good earnings report overnight, and got a couple of analyst reports you can see here from Roth and Jeffries, both having them as buys. So that is STZ Constellation Brands, one of the biggest wine companies in the world, but also big in the cannabis business in both the U.S. and Canada. Catching a little bit of a bid today, but struggling to hold above the top of the linear regression on the hourly. Steve, speaking of, AI, as you mentioned, this people already calling for the death of AI. What do you feel about OpenAI's investment raise? I saw that Apple and Nvidia are both rumored to be part of that.
I heard about the death of internet, the death of everything else. This is no different. I remember a time when my dad said he'd never have a computer in his house, and now the internet goes down, he freaks out, right? Look, that's just flat out silly. AI is here, here to live, and I've said it several times. It's not going to be AI as it's intrusive in your life. It's right in front of your face. it'll be in a way that you don't even know it's happening. You'll end up doing Google searches when you didn't even know what Google was back in the day. I remember when Google came out, and everybody's like, "Why do I need this?"
Oh, I thought Ask Jeeves was the greatest app
Ask
ever
Jeeves,
invented. Remember
right?
that one?
Yes.
I'm very disappointed that is didn't wasn't the winner within the search engine, because I loved the fact that it was called Ask Jeeves. Yeah,
I
and
laugh.
as a big Bitcoin proponent myself, I've watched this in crypto. The call of the death, the tulip bubble, whatever you want to say, 100 times. Technology, whether or not you like it, is coming. It changes our lives, as you said. Let's put it this way: for 90% of the world, the phone is the least used app on their phone. I never take a phone call on my cell phone. Basically, it is, it's used to do everything else in the world. It holds all my information. It does my banking. It does my trading. It does my communication. It does everything. And that's where AI is going to come in. Like you said, the other parts, yeah, is where people don't realize is the automation of processes and, services is going to be a real big sector there. Yeah, and avoid ignoring AI at this point is as stupid as ignoring the internet in the '80s. It would be the perfect analogy that you just gave us there, Steve.
Yeah, you saw that dip in that selling there that just happened a little bit, but look, I there it is. There's the buyer stepping right in there. I don't see anything going on here. I will say the one thing I am looking at pretty heavily, and I just have my eye on it, is oil. 69.75 now and slipping. If it breaks below here, we could slip all the way back down to, gosh, 60 below 69 a barrel. If we get below 69.18, could even get even worse here. So oil seems to be the one.
Steve, do you look at what ticker do you use? I have oil USD up. Do you use Brent, or do you use?
I'm using WTI crude.
That's what I'm
So
using.
yeah,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had the same thing up that you were talking about. I do have it on the screen right now. Yeah, 69.8. That one you can see on the daily chart, man. It's just been dropping. We haven't seen these lows since January.
and there is a glut of oil on the market right now, and it mainly is because the refineries can't get it done fast enough. So yeah,
I did see some talk today that Libya looks like it's going to come back online. So that might be adding to this too. I'm definitely not the commodity expert. You are, so. Let's see what else is going on here. Let's take a look at U.S. market movers on the Quasar app here. Most active by value seeing, of course, what I like to see is it's no real outliers here. Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, Meta, all the companies you should see in the market movers.
and the Dow
So
now up 67 points here. So hey,
seeing an energy stock take off here. Well, no, that's not an energy stock. It's an electronic technology stock. WISA, WISA, up 61% on the day. Biggest mover so far per our site. WINT, another mover. Windtree Therapeutics, up about 46% today. That's on big volume too. These micro pumpers, I have Charlie coming on today at 1:15 to talk more about that, but these things have been nuts.
VIX seems to be pushing just a hair up here.
SPY trying to get even, it looks like here. we go.
Yep, there's the pop.
Seeing some buying there. Still though low. Well, 50, 3 million. Yeah, that's
Bank
pretty
of
low volume.
Canada
Still, we're not
kept
seeing that
their
volume.
Bank of Canada kept their rates even at 4.25%. So they did not raise or lower their rates here. So there's 107 now on Nvidia.
Seeing that Core Main's stock is dropping here about 13%. The St. Louis based wastewater and drainage supply company on missing earnings and revenue here. So down about 13%.
Yeah, there goes the pop in Nvidia. Had a feeling that as I said, they're shaking. They shook them out. That's what they were doing. They're shaking people out. Seeing if you're scared here.
I think it's safe to say there are a lot of weak hands that are. And I think that's what we've been seeing every morning.
Boeing is up 1% right now.
Nvidia looks like it's going to go positive here. AMD still up about 2.16%. I will say the early gainers, though, are giving back some of that momentum here. Qualcomm not, though. Qualcomm now up 1.29%. Tesla up 2.28% here. Let's take a look at the Tesla chart here. Clear out some old data we had on there.
Boeing now up 1.05%. CrowdStrike here, CRWD down about 1.64%. So there still are. Bank of Canada's Macklem says inflation may bump up later in the year. There is a risk that upward forces on inflation could be stronger than expected. Says that excess supply in the economy continues to put downward pressure on inflation, while price increases in shelter and some other services are holding inflation up. So they're worried about inflation in the housing market. I think what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a lot of talk that, what people are going to do is price the houses higher because now they think they're going to get more for their homes because interest rates are dropping, but people, can't afford to pay those higher prices. You're still looking at the consumer that doesn't have the buying power when it comes to mortgages. As you mentioned, we went from historically high savings in banks to historically low. So I can tell you from a lot of people I've talked to that are looking to buy, it's amazing, what you can afford now versus what you could have afforded a few years ago. Steve, I have up the Tesla chart. I'm seeing, trouble breaking through this descending trend line, on the upper end here. So that's where we're at right now is
Well, I
right
think
about that trend line.
Tesla has a problem. I think it's their CEO.
Yeah, I will say, the Brazil thing is getting a little out of hand now. They're talking about seizing Starlink's bank accounts, and you know, you got to learn not to fight everybody at some point.
Bank Kenneth Macklem also goes on to say that there is some downside risk to the bank's July projection of stronger growth in the second half of 2024. Um, wow, that means that here we go. Nvidia and just about here to go green here. I think we talked about that this morning, right?
Yeah,
Boom. So, I think strong here. I tell you, you got to hold the thoughts. But
yeah.
I think that Nasdaq's about to go green here. I think.
Like we said, Tesla just busted through that top declining, descending
Keep your
channel.
eye on silver. Silver told you the story this morning. I think that's what I was looking at. And the dollar here continued to slip 101.61. So it's holding, but here we go, 69.50 now on oil. Oil could very easily break below that 69.50 handle. If it gets below the 69.20, off she goes. There has been some buying down there, but wow, yeah. Boeing
I
now up
will.
1.3%.
I will warn that yesterday we had a nice green candle in that 9:30 to 10 o'clock part of the hour. So that's what I'll be watching here as we break through the 10 o'clock hour to see what happens. Do we have the follow through that we couldn't see yesterday?
Nvidia back down to 107 now, about down $1 on the day here, but they tested that bottom and right back up she went. So
Coal's hitting
tick up
highs of the
200.
day.
And that buying today is institutional. You can tell that by the size of the volume here.
Yeah, you can see institutional jumped in. I had just mentioned we were at like 1 million in volume on both QQQ and SPY, and about a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, here we're at 4 million. So you
Bank
definitely
Canada
saw
said that
that.
the loonie has appreciated modestly, largely reflecting a lower U.S. dollar. Oil prices are lower than assumed in the July monetary policy report. So Bank of Canada is now telling you that they're what they're looking at. They're looking at the U.S. dollar, which we've been talking about for a while now, and oil. So all the
Right?
things we've been talking about is now what the Bank of Canada has been telling us. And I bet you anything, I bet you start to see the Fed talk about the same stuff pretty soon.
Absolutely. It tends to follow each other, right? I don't want to call them parrots, but Dow Jones up 1/10 of a point now. So that's been the leader so far. As you were saying in AI, I've seen an article from Wall Street Journal saying that the new recruitment challenge filtering AI crafted resumes. It is interesting how the adoption of AI is causing unattended consequences in different parts of the world that you wouldn't have thought. And that's what just like you were saying. It's the AI you didn't know you were using that you are using, so to speak. That's
I haven't
there.
had a resume in decades. I don't never had to need one. But as kids are coming up today and they want to get why not use AI to create their resume? I don't have a problem with that, right? It's part of our lives. In the past, we've had to have horse and buggies. We don't use horse and buggies anymore. We have cars. So, you
I'm a
know,
1,000% with you there. Show me that you work smarter, not harder, and then I think you're going to probably be a great employee for me.
absolutely,
I
100%. Yeah. Why are they
absolutely
wasting their
feel
time
those.
building out a resume when the machine can do it for you based on who you are? Now, if the machine's embellishing who you are, that's a different story. But if it's writing out your story, and fine, make it faster, efficient. That's what we talk about AI forever. It's efficiency. I want students and people who are doing that. We're seeing now Tesla at the highs of the day here, 2021. Yeah, there you go,
Yep,
217.7. Yeah, still breaking highs today here.
3.4. Like we said, it's got room. Now it's getting close here to where I'd be 220 is where I'm looking here, where it was, back on Friday in the after hours, and where it hit here on Tuesday and yet yesterday morning at 9 a.m. exactly. So that's what I'll be looking at right about here
Highs today, still pushing higher. There you go, and
as
still
it
higher.
as it approaches right here. That 220 level is where I'll be starting to see what can Tesla do. Can it get above yesterday's high? That's what we want to see. And it's funny, Steve. The news just keeps on talking about it. Stock sink, but TSMC, Samsung bullish on AI at major trade show. Anywhere you look, it's the companies and the people who matter are understanding that that is the future.
Israeli defense minister now says that from his forces headquarters in the West Bank says the moment will come when we must eradicate the roots of terrorism in the region. That's some saber rattling there to me.
Yeah, that's a Tragic
Jeez.
what's going on around the world, unfortunately.
Uh, yeah, oil getting a little bit of a bid here.
Tesla retracing a little, now trying to retest that high. Let's see here.
Bears are not in
Spy.
control.
Spy back. Right about positive. They're fighting it out right now, Steve. As we speak, the Bulls and Bears are definitely fighting it right now to see who's going to take control today. Last 4 minutes here.
Albemarle ALB getting hit yesterday, now up 3.09% here.
They had a nice W on the hourly chart there. So you'd look for room there to about 88. You can see the similar pattern played out in Albemarle back on August 14th, too. Moved way up after that. Same type of W formation. Extended a rally there pretty well.
Tick just took off here. Tick now up almost 700 right here. So, wow.
Dow Jones up a quarter of a point. SPY up a little, almost 0.06. Question is QQQ, can that catch up? NVIDIA trying to go back to it's down under a point here.
Tick up 800. Oof.
VIX continue to slide back down towards 20. Just broke below 21. NVIDIA unable to hold that momentum there. SPY still slightly positive.
The advanced decline line here in the New York Stock Exchange is pushing higher here now. It's positive by 767. I don't get excited there until it's up about 1,000, but looking good there. I do like that.
Second day, the consumer durables are actually looking pretty good. Tesla, of course, leading the way there. FFIE. Seeing another micro pumper here, FFIE. Look at that chart. Wow. Almost done its daily volume already. And it's up 82% on the day. These micro pumpers are nuts. Let's take a look on the other side of that. On the opposite side, you have in the healthcare, OGEN down about 46% today.
Seeing a dump there somewhere.
And NVIDIA dropped back down. Down under 2 points. Down to over 2 points.
There was some serious selling there.
Apple's getting hit hard today, down. SMCI, another one that had bounced back a little bit. You can see here, just straight decline last
Yeah,
12,
10
13
o'clock
hours.
hour here.
Yeah,
All right.
this has been what I said. We've unfortunately seen this over the last week or so, where we get that initial pop, but it hasn't been able to hold here, and then we just seem to slide down till the lunch hour ends.
Jolts were incoming here. Factory orders coming in at 5%. Expected 4.9%. Previous reading there was down 3.3%. Durable goods revised to actual for 9.8%. Forecast there was 9.9%. So a little bit of numbers here. Jolt's job openings 7.673 million. Expected 8.1 million. So not as many jobs openings right there right now.
Right. Lowest since January of 2021.
Yeah. All right,
You can
Howard,
see
it's 10
that.
o'clock.
Okay.
Take us home.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this morning for our opening look at the market. You have Howard Greenberg, your host, along with the famous BigBeat of Wall Street, Stephen Orr. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'll be back on at 11 to take a mid-afternoon look. And at 1:15, Charlie Moon from Prosper Trading is going to be joining me, and we're going to talk about these micro pumpers that we've seen. Talk to you guys later. Thank you so much.